I'm quite fortunate and work for the quite a few of MNC company. So because of this nature of my career, actually I see a lot of different things from the different industry. Previously, I involved in the aviation, I involved in the engineering, I involved with semiconductor, also some manufacturing industry, and of course some is more like the test equipment. Those are actually my forte. But because I actually travel to quite a numbers of a country, of course, one of the country is China, which is one of the place that I really like most. I see that there's a lot of a difference between the culture amongst the different country, especially when we talk about the investment, even the mindset itself, and also how the people there see the thing actually is totally different. So today I just would like to share with you how actually the people there, or maybe how the savvy investor, they actually look at the business. Let me start. There's a disclaimer. This presentation is for my sharing of my experiences only. So there's no investment advice or the recommendations. Many of the time when we talk about the investing in the business, we are talking about investing in the stock market. This is most commonly people will talk about it. But the presentation today, I'm not talking about the stock market, because there is a big difference between investing in business and investing in the stock market, is because I give one very direct example. A lot of people right now talking about the recovery counters, means that the company actually is involving in the recovery. For example, like tourism, for example, like AirAsia, those kind of aviation company. But you will see that this company actually, they are still not really into the recovery stage yet. Previously, for example, 3 months ago, they are still actually facing a huge challenges. But during this period of time, for those who are already invested in the stock market, you'll see that the stock price actually goes up a lot. Even they still not realize their profit yet, even they still not go through the challenges yet, but people already start speculate on it. But when I talk about the business itself, we are talking about the long term. Like the Warren Buffett always says that they don't look at the short term of a thing. They are looking at the business 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road. Will it become better and better or not? So this is the main topic I would like to share with you. So in the business pyramid, we call it as a demand. We call it as the factors that make a business become better, become bigger, or become a great business. There are a few of the things. First is, of course, the product. I'm sure that you can't deny that if you don't have a product, you can't go far. Maybe you can actually make profit temporarily, but you can't go far. And secondly is about the supply and demand. You have a good product, but you don't know how to actually create the demand. Like for example, in the market, some of a product is a very good quality of a product, but the timing is not right. During the time, there's not much demand, and then you can't actually make a lot of revenue from there. And the third one is how you actually market these products, and how actually you fulfill the supply and demand, balance out the supply and demand in the market. There's a business model. And the next is trends. You have a very good business model, though you can make a big profit, but you know that many of the time, some of the business actually tap into the trends. They don't have a good product, they don't have a business model, but still they can make a big profit, huge profit. So we see that the trends is also one of the foundation of a business. That of course, this is not the long term, it's a short term, because trends may change, right? But the fundamental thing, the final thing is government policy. This is one of the strongest factor that you have to always keep your eye on this, because this will actually give you, the government will create the community or the environment to make you to do the business, whether it will become more difficult or it will become more easier. So there's 5 things that we would like to use this to spot the business, whether it's investable or not, or maybe we want to involve not only investment, but some entrepreneurs, they will use exactly the same thing to analyze where is their positioning in the company. Right. So we talk about the government. Of course, we can't inevitably we have to talk about the recent cases like the recovery stages that the government actually using right now. Actually, they implement. They actually give out the money to the market. So if you notice that since that 2020 means that the start of a MCO, there is a loss of a packages coming out to help the SME. But you see that there's always a gap between the business owner and the packages offered by the government. Some will say that I actually get nothing. In the travel industry, remember last year, lots of hotel operators, the travel agencies, they say that actually I see nothing at all. So a lot of those companies, they actually closed down because the government don't really have a sufficient support to this industry. But you notice that there is a loss of a business flourish throughout this 1 year until June this year, 2021. You see that a lot of business flourish because of the government give a lot of incentive, encouragement, and also the thing that maybe some supports, maybe even some service aids to this group of people. And we are actually right now at the stage number five. If you see that last year budget, the government actually talked about the 6R, means that this 6R: resolve, resilient, restart, recovery, revitalize, reform. Actually, during that time, last year, I think it's November, when November they announced the budget, we already start to plan for our strategy for this year. We have to know that what is the next trend. So we noticed that actually the government put a lot of effort in these few things. Okay, I think I didn't put in the slide. They put into a few things like the entrepreneur digitalization enforcement program. You flip up all the grants, all the stimulus packages. I think more than 50% actually is talking about the digitalization, the technology grants, and the digital economy. So if you can feel that, if you say that is a thing, that's a direction that we are going forward, then you have to think of when we actually involve in it, be it as investors, be it as the business owner, we have to actually start to look into the opportunities in this area. So that's why you see that even in the revitalized part, the stage 5, you see that even they have so many different type of like since the Penjana, we have e-commerce player, a lot of the grants because they want to build the community, and the community can actually use the grants to actually buy the cheaper things. So that is how it works. It actually is a cycle, means that the business owner doing very good, the clients, their clients or the buyers, actually the shoppers actually can get the vouchers of the free discount, then they can buy more things. So it's how they actually simulate the whole thing, right? And then we look at what is the area that actually the government put their money in. So this is what I read through all the thing, I summarize. Of course, a lot of part actually is talking about the tax, but I would not like to talk about the tax, because tax itself is also one of key that when you want to put your investment, you need to actually understand that. By looking at where actually the money goes to, you see that for the past few years, the government actually increasing the strength of helping the ECF and P2P. ECF is equity crowdfunding. So we already have more than 10 platforms in the ECF and P2P, 10 each in this industry. And the government actually, what they do is they put 80 million allocate to the matching grants, means that when you actually invest through the ECF, the government will put the same amount as what you actually put in. Why they do this is because they want to encourage people to actually raise fund in the ECF, but at the same time, the investor can actually make use of this as their alternative investment rather than the stock market. As you know that some of our investors know that if you invest in the stock market, you also have to talk about the tax nowadays. Okay, and secondly is the e-commerce, 250 million allocated for the Shop Malaysia online and Go e-commerce. But this is nothing new. this is nothing new. This is already from last year onwards. They already have this budget to put into here. So if you are the investor, you have to think of you want to actually make profit by leveraging of all these aids from the government, or you want to actually do it by your own as a lone ranger. So lots of e-commerce players, they actually fully utilize the Go e-commerce, the Shop Malaysia online, because since that the government actually putting the money to help you to build your own business. And that's why you hear that since last year until now, those bigger player in the market, they are actually making more profit than before the MCO. And the third one is cashless. This one I won't go through too details because there's a lot of things that involve. So cashless means that the financial institution, the fintech company, and even the virtual bank, actually they are benefiting from here. And the next is a renewable energy. Two part of renewable energy you see here, and the next one also renewable energy. One is a green asset, but another one is sustainable and the low carbon practices. There's two different areas, but the government also go into this area. So you can see that some of the company, they are actually in the solar business, they are actually transforming, and some of counters in the stock market, they're actually benefiting from this announcement as well. And lastly is for the most down to earth kind of things, like for grocery, for the expectation of people start to travel, so the tourism will actually start coming back, and also some of the basic needs like the medical. So those kind of thing actually is one of the area we can actually look into. Let me talk about, of course, that is based on the budgetary of Malaysia. But if let's say we are to look into the further thing that we want to analyze, we can actually use this method as one of our mindset when we actually analyze the thing. There's two way of thinking of the market. One is predictive one. For example, like COVID-19 is the black swan effect. So this black swan effect, although is a sudden incident, but you can actually refer it to the previous black swan because it's almost the same. Means that the outbreak of the viruses last time, the last one is the SARS 2003. So we can actually map it with the previous black swan incidents. But another way of the cases, another type of the market cycle is the unpredictable type, which means that it's quite a random one. You don't have any patterns. For example, if let's say 2016 to 2017, is there any significant incidents that make you easily to predict it? You can't predict it with those black swan kind of incidents. So you have to base on the normal cycle, normal market cycle. So I use, because today the topic is about the COVID-19, so it's a black swan effect. So we use this to talk about the first is the outbreak. The outbreak of this COVID-19 is December last year, 2019. December, we already heard it from the Wuhan, China. So do you know that actually some of my business owner, when the outbreak happens in Wuhan during December, they already start talking about it. During that time, a lot of people around me says that it's nothing to do with me because it's too far away, it's in China. But actually, as a globalized era, whoever have something happen there, actually, it can actually happens in our country within just 2 to 3 months time. So if the distance become closer. So first, the outbreak itself, the healthcare related company actually will benefit from here. But during the outbreak, we have to look one step further. We actually have to think of what will actually benefits from the lockdown. It's not benefits from the outbreak, because when we start to invest in the healthcare, it may be a bit too late. So we are looking at the lockdown. So you see that during the lockdown period, the necessities will actually benefit from it. The logistic is because, of course, the lockdown will temporarily suppress the activities of the logistic, but the demand will actually become very high at a very short period of time. And next is after the lockdown is the start to have the new normal. And after the new normal is the post new normal. And then the financial banking during that time. So if let's say you want to stay ahead of the time, you always have to think when you are at the outbreak, you have to start to think of what will benefit at the lockdown period. When you are at the lockdown period, you are looking at the new normal. What is the area that can be benefited after we start entering the new normal life? And we, of course, we have a post new normal, everything goes back to normal, financing go back to normal, banking goes back to normal. So this is the way how actually the thing works. A lot of the sophisticated investor, actually they use the same method. Okay, let us give you some examples so you can actually have a better idea, because this is just conceptually, theoretically, it sounds good, but how to actually map it together with, compared to the SARS and the COVID-19, actually it happens, the things happen with exactly the same thing happen. So if in the future, maybe 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, it happens another outbreak, which is another type of a virus coming in, you actually still have to actually use back the same area to actually look into the things that we are actually talking about today. Like first, the outbreak, you see that during that time, I still remember 2003, I just graduated. I actually graduated 20 years ago. And then during that period, I'm still a freshie. I know nothing, but I already start invested in the stock market. And some of the counters actually doing very, very well because of the medical supplies. I'm not sure whether you're old enough to still remember that the iodine manufacturers, it actually is nothing to do with the SARS, but because there's a rumors that iodine can help to cure the SARS, now even the iodine manufacturers also benefit from that. So you can see how crazy it is during that time. And of course, the preventive supplies like the face mask, like the glove, actually during that time, actually, even I still remember the B Brown, the SQ Labs, those kind of thing, actually their price actually goes up, the stock markets goes up because of that also. So during the lockdown period, like you compare this now and compare to the SARS, actually is the same thing. Like Alibaba during that time, it emerged. So how about Malaysia? Whether during this time, is there any Alibaba in Malaysia that can actually help you to right into it and actually grow together with them? So this is a few things that I shortlisted. Later I will talk about why green and why orange, but I will go through first. Then after the lockdown, during the lockdown, the grocery, the e-commerce, because you can't actually travel anywhere, you have to buy it online. So e-commerce actually benefited. Wellness, number C, wellness and the new normal, number D here. Why actually is a different? Is because wellness is urgently people panic, want to buy. Like I don't want to get caught by the COVID-19, so I buy the supplements. So that's the wellness. Fitness is for long-term one. If let's say you go to gym, you want to keep yourself fit enough in order not to easily caught by the COVID-19, that's the fitness. So you see that wellness will start first, then later part, the fitness will come in later. So that's why it also proved that it's right, because during that time, a lot of the supplements company actually doing very well. Last year until now, actually those direct sales company with supplements, they are doing very, very well. Their growth is around 30 to 40% compared to the previous year. And logistics doing well. Distance service is like distance learning, online learning, or Zoom, the distance service that you can actually use a Zoom to do the online meeting. So these companies, they actually benefited from the lockdown. As well, during that time, you see there are a lot of business with distance services actually that make a huge profits as well during the SARS, and it happens again in 2020. And new normal is starting to go back. It's not post new normal, it's because they just started to the F&B hotel or aviation company, the airlines, and the manufacturing previously, because of the labor force, they had faced some issues of getting approval to get some foreign labor to come in Malaysia. So the manufacturing affected a lot. And sports apparel is, you see that because of a fitness, people do the gym at home. So the sports apparel actually search. Last year, they are not doing very well because most of the outlet is not really able to sell, but they start to convert the client's attention to the e-commerce. So a lot of people actually buy the sports apparel, like the sports shoes, like the gym wears or athleisure wears online. So the sports apparel during this period actually is doing very well. The last is when everything backs to the normal, those company that actually face a lot of the difficulty because of the demand actually surge again, because it's a powerful Xing Xiaofei. So a lot of people previously can't do that thing or can't actually get that kind of product. They will actually search after the post new normal. And because of this, now we talk about the budget of 2022 of the government, Malaysia government. Actually, renewable energy is one of the area that is a bit special. It's not happening previously in 2003, but it actually happened this round because since last year, more and more funds actually go into this area. Okay, let me talk about the color. Why I put the color scheme here is because we also have to remember another thing is whether this is the temporary effect. For example, hotel 2016, because during that time nothing happened, so your business is just as usual. But because of the new normal, it's surged temporarily. But after 5 years, will it still continue to surge? Will not. It will definitely goes back to normal eventually. So this one we put as orange color, the wellness. Sometimes people also forget already. Now we say that our immune system is very important. But after 5 years, they forget already. If I say there's no any outbreak of a virus, then they'll goes back to the normal life. But if green color, you see that why grocery is one of it is because we are talking about how people buy the things. It's not about the needs of buying the things. Previously, we buy things from the shopping mall. But if let's say you are in the grocery with the technology, with the online, you can buy it online. Last time, I never buy seafood online. Last time, I never buy vegetables online. But now, I not only me myself buy it, I even, because I'm from Penang, so my parents is still staying in Penang. Last time, they buy themselves. Now I buy for them. In KL, I can buy and send to their house. So this is a behavioral change. So grocery will actually benefit. I should put e-grocery. E-grocery is the one who benefit for this in a long run. It's a long-term kind of a thing. Not only this, the e-commerce also the same thing. Logistic itself, if let's say you are actually building the logistic, that last time you are in Malaysia, but you are building the logistic system to connect to overseas, you are actually selling your products, or maybe you are sending your products cross-border to the overseas, then that is the area that we want to look into. And distance service is last time Zoom actually is not really popular. You still remember we never do online seminars. Nowadays, I think everyone talk about the online seminars. If you don't know how to use Zoom, people think it's a bit weird. So that's a thing. And sports apparel is the same thing also. Last time, people actually try to there's a lot of option for them. But now the sports apparel is one of the things that is a must for them to actually goes towards the fitness and renewable energy. So once all this industry, actually, they always face the, we call it a hurdle. When they want to break through, like the e-commerce, you want to get people to buy things online. It's so difficult. Like pets.com in US. Last time when they actually introduced in the market, no one want to buy the pet supply in online. That's why the company, after grow, they spend so much money in the marketing. I think during 2001, I think 20 years ago, the company collapsed because you have to spend so much effort to build the conscious or the behavior, to change your behavior. But because of the COVID, actually all this green color industry, they are benefiting from it without actually spending single cents. People automatically look for you. So that's something that we like to talk. So these numbers I will actually not go through. initially I put here is just to show you that whatever I say is actually backed by the numbers, but I think this is just for your reference. You can actually search for this real GDP anywhere. Even you can Google it. So this is a commonly available kind of things. Like I want to show you the wholesale and retail actually is growing. The transportation and storage warehouse is growing. Okay, so lastly, this is my last slide. So last thing that we want to look into is, but the issue is if even in the grocery itself, we know that grocery is one of the things we want to actually involve in, want to be part of it. But so many grocery, if out of 100 grocery, there is still maybe 50 grocery company, they will still collapse, not competitive enough in this very highly competitive environment. So we need to actually use the BILC, business investment life cycle, to actually identify which stage they are in. And in different stages, we need to look at different things. In the startup stages, we need to look at the business, the owners, how strong is he, whether he has the strong leadership or not, or whether they know how to actually build their finance cash flow, for example, cash flow. Because a lot of a company, they are a good company, but they don't have a cash flow, they collapse. Especially during the COVID period, a lot of a company collapse, not because of they are not a good company, it's because they don't have a cash flow. They don't have a strategy to plan to actually get their cash flow become healthy. So in the startup and in the growth, we actually look into the different category, but in the expansion and the mature company, we look at other different things. We are looking at whether their business can actually tap into this environment or not, the COVID, the pandemic, post-pandemic environment. Will they grow during this period of time? Or their business is starting to disrupt by the technology. If their business is possibly disrupted by the technology, then we have to ask the next question, whether this company, do they able to actually transform? That's why the mature company, we always say that many companies cannot go beyond 50 years. But those companies cannot go beyond 50 years. They are most likely because they don't transform. Just one example, Oracle. Oracle is a company actually doing all the software. But last time they actually selling solution, their solution, they're actually selling, their solution is in the CD format. Later, they do the customization of the solution. And the later part, they transform again, become the cloud service. So all these are the transformation that you need to do during the mature stages. So when we analyze this, we will talk about whether this company in the mature stage, do they able to transform? In the startup stage, do they able to actually handle the current crisis or not? So that's a different level. So in brief, as a summary, at the top part, startup and the growth is more like a predictive. Predictive means that this company, they cannot prove to you anything because they are just startup. They cannot prove that whether they have the capability to make profit at this point of time or not, because they're still under the stages that they want to test out the market. So the fundamental thing is how to make sure that you can survive while still not making money. That's why cash flow. But at the lower part, expansion and mature, this group of companies, they are already descriptive company, means that they have more than enough information to show you that I already proved that I can make the profit. Okay, of course, I don't talk about too details because my time is running out. So if you want to understand each and every single stages, you can actually look at the book, these investment strategies for global real estate and businesses. And just now I talked about the 4 stages of all the business. All these actually are well described in this book, even with the examples. Thank you.